Welcome back everyone for the 5th episode of my Greatest Fighters in Each Division series, in which we assign points to fighters based off their achievements in each class. In this edition we are focusing on the light middleweight or super welterweight division, but if you haven't seen the previous episodes, which are the heavyweight, light heavyweight, super middle, cross cruiserweight and middleweight videos, I'd highly recommend you do so before watching this one. I will leave the links to all those videos in the description below if you're interested, but let's remind everyone quickly of the rules. So every light middleweight champion will receive points other than international or regular champions. All accomplishments must occur at light middleweight. Becoming the undisputed champion is worth 10 points. However, in this video, no fighter will receive any points for winning the NBA or NYCAC titles, as the light middleweight division was not an official weight class prior to the creation of the WBA. Becoming the lineal champion is worth 5 points. Fighters winning and defending either the WBC, WBA, IBF and Ring Magazine titles will receive 2 points, but winning and defending the WBO title is only worth 1 point. Furthermore, winning multiple titles in one fight will stack in points, defending multiple titles will not. Winning Ring Fighter of the Year and earning Olympic gold medal when the light middleweight division was included in the Olympics are worth 1 point each, and fighters with less than 6 points are not included on the list. Also, a quick reminder of the point accumulation score we do at the end of every video. We add a fighter's total points from their achievements at each division, and if they earn enough points, they make our top 25 point list. Now let's head to some notable exclusions. Fighters who just missed out on the 6 point threshold are Vinny Pazienza, Erislandy Lara, Jason Rosario, Liam Smith, Roberto Duran, Pernell Whitaker, and Manny Pacquiao. Every one of these fighters other than Smith and Lara haven't stayed at the light middleweight division for a long period of time. Lara held the WBA regular title for a little bit, but only held the quote-unquote real WBA title for only a couple defenses. Smith won the WBO title and only made 2 defenses, so only received 1 point for each of those fights, earning him a total of 3 points. Now let's move to the people who actually made the list in 6 points. There are a lot of fighters who just make the list, including Alicia Obed, Eckhard Dage, Rocky Mattioli, Wilfred Benitez, Buster Drayton, Darren Van Horn, John David Jackson, Raul Marquez, Travis Sims, Corey Spinks, Vernon Forrest, and Jamie Mungaya. Big apology if I butchered any of their names. Vernon Forrest is one of my favourites in this list alongside Rocky Mattioli and Wilfred Benitez. Forrest had a really respectable 35 win streak with 1 no contest, including 2 wins over Sugar Shane Mosley at welterweight. He would then lose to Ricardo Mayorga twice before moving up to light middle to win the world title against Carlos Baldomir. Forrest would retain the title once before losing the title to Sergio Mora. However, an immediate rematch was in store where Vernon Forrest came out on top to regain the title. However, he would retire shortly afterwards. 7 points we have David Reed, Miguel Cotto, and I hope I don't butcher this man's name, Zinzuruk. Hopefully that's somewhere in the ballpark of actually how to pronounce his name. But let's go back to Cotto. He didn't hold the title for long. He only competed in 3 light middleweight bouts against Yuri Foreman, Ricardo Mayorga, and Yoshihiro Kamage. A lot of fighters earn 8 points, including Maurice Hope, Davey Moore, Julian Jackson, Verno Phillips, Roy Boy Campos, Daniel Santos, and Cornelius Bundridge. Davey Moore most notably fought and lost against Roberto Duran. He also fought the great Wilfred Benitez, who he'd win by TKO. However, Benitez would break his ankle following a first round knockdown, where he would continue to fight on valiantly before the referee stepped in the second round. Miguel Castellini, Jose Manuel Duran, Keith Mullings, and Felix Trinidad earned themselves 9 points. Trinidad only had 3 fights at light middleweight, winning all 3 before moving up to middleweight to face and ultimately beat William Joppy for the WBA middleweight title. Jose Manuel Duran is another interesting fighter at 9 points. He would win the title from Koichi Wajima, a man who will feature later by knockout, and then lose the title in his first defense against fellow 9-pointer Miguel Castellini. He would attempt to regain the title against Rocky Mattioli, but be utterly annihilated by the Italian-Australian fighter. 10 points include Sugar Ray Leonard, I'm gonna butcher his name again, Laurent Budiawani, and Jarrett Hurd. Once again, Ray Leonard doesn't amass many points for the same reason he didn't in our previous video. He didn't stay at the division long enough. He actually never defended the title. He beat Ayub Kalule for the WBA Lineal and Ring Magazine title before moving back down to welterweight to fight Thomas Hearns. But he also won Fight of the Year in that year, which was 1981. So I've decided to give him the extra point in this video rather than the welterweight video that's coming up. Jer Du Yat and Sugar Shane Mosley receive 11 points. Du Yat would beat Koichi Wajima for the world title. He would then successfully defend the title once before losing to Wajima in the rematch. Mosley conversely beat Oscar De La Hoya for the Lineal, Ring, WBC and WBA titles before losing them immediately to Ronald Winky Wright. 13 points we have Eddie Garzo. Garzo would have wins during his prime over Koichi Wajima and Miguel Castellini. He would lose his title to Masashi Kudo. Later on in his career, he would fight Thomas Hearns, John Mugabe, and Julian Jackson, getting stopped in each of those fights. Fernando Vargas and Mike McCallum sit on 14 points. Vargas has an impressive resume, having wins over Yuri Boy Campos and Winky Wright before losing to Felix Trinidad. Trinidad would vacate the titles to move up to middleweight, leaving the door open for Vargas to regain the titles against Jose Flores. After this victory, he would make his first title defense and lose against Oscar De La Hoya. Masashi Kudo earns himself 15 points. He'd win the world title from Eddie Garzo, making 3 title defenses only to lose his undefeated record, titles, and final fight against Ayub Kalule in 1979. 17 points we have 2 gigantic names in Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather, while also including the aforementioned Ayub Kalule and Javier Castillejo. Floyd Mayweather constantly jumped between weights and never remained at light middleweight for a long period of time, whilst De La Hoya didn't make many defenses, even though in 2006 he would regain a portion of the title stopping Ricardo Mayorga. 8 points, we have one of my favourite fighters ever, if not my favourite to watch, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. He would win the title by a majority decision against Wilfred Benitez, then defended on numerous occasions against guys like Roberto Duran, Fred Hutchings and Mark Metal. During this time he would also jump up to middleweight to challenge Marvin Hagler, where we would all bear witness to one of the greatest fights ever. Canelo Alvarez is the only fighter at 19 points. Canelo had notable wins over Carlos Baldomir and Shane Mosley and Austin Trout before losing his WBA, WBC and Ring Magazine title in his fight against a brilliant Floyd Mayweather. Denny Moya, Rolf Dupas, Carmelo Bossi and Nino Benvenuti get 21 points. Benvenuti, now with his score along with his middleweight tally, will be knocking down the door for the top 5 fighters with the most total points. Benvenuti is just a purely sensational fighter that in his prime, according to BoxRec, had an incredible 65 win streak before his first loss. You need to watch him if you don't know him or have never watched any of his fights. 23 points stars Ki-Soo Kim, Freddie Little, Oscar Alvarado and the new lineal and current king of the division, Jermell Charlo. Charlo was given the status of the lineal champion after his recent knockout win over Jason Rosario. Charlo just needs Patrick Teixeira's WBO title now to become the first undisputed champion of the light middleweight division since Winky Wright in 2004. Julio Cesar Vasquez earned himself 24 points. He would win the vacant WBA title in his bout against Japanese Hitoshi Kamiyama. He would then make 10 defenses against the likes of Javier Castillejo and Winky Wright before losing the title to the legendary Pernell Whitaker in 1995. He would regain the title later that year against Carl Daniels, earning himself knockout of the year. His second reign wouldn't last long, however, losing it in his first title defense. Gianfranco Rossi is on 28 points. Rossi had 2 spells as world champion, winning the WBC strap against Lupe Aquino. He would defend the title once before losing to Donald Curry in 1988. 2 victories earned him a chance at the IBF title against Darren Van Horn in 1989. Rossi would win by unanimous decision and have a 5-year reign as champion, earning notable wins over Australian Troy Waters and Darren Van Horn in the rematch. He would lose his IBF title in 1994 against Vincent Petway in their second bout. 39 points, and the man who just misses out in the top 3, the last undisputed light middleweight champion, Ronald Winky Wright. Wright had 2 reigns as champion, the first coming between 96 and 98 as the WBO champion before losing a majority decision against Harry Simon. He would then have a shot at Vargas's IBF strap, losing again by majority decision. 2 years later in 2001 he would face Robert Frazier, winning the vacant IBF title. After 4 defenses he'd meet Shane Mosley. In this fight, Wright would make history, becoming the first undisputed light middleweight champion since 1975. A rematch was in order where once again Wright would come out on top. After this win he would move to middleweight, earning wins against Trinidad and Sam Solomon. So now for the top 3 in the light middleweight division. In third place we have the legendary Italian fighter Sandro Mazzinghi. 2-time undisputed light middleweight champion, he would win his first championship against Ralph Dupas by TKO in Milan, Italy. Mazzinghi would defend the title 3 times before losing to fellow Italian boxing icon Nino Benvenuti. 6 months later Mazzinghi would fight Benvenuti in their rematch, only to lose once again. A couple years would pass and Mazzinghi would get another chance at the title against Ki-Soo Kim, in which Mazzinghi would regain his crown. But Mazzinghi would never successfully defend this title, as the one defense he had was ruled a no contest. Mazzinghi would end his career with a 67 fights, 64 wins, 42 by way of knockout with 3 losses. He would pass away at age 81 only a couple months ago. Terrible Terry Norris sits 1 point ahead of Mazzinghi in second. Norris was extremely talented and has one of the best resumes in the whole division. After being utterly annihilated by Julian Jackson, he would have wins over John Mugabe, a very old Ray Leonard, Donald Curry, Jorge Castro, Maldrick Taylor, Troy Waters, Luis Santana, after 2 disqualification losses to Santana and Vincent Petway. He was never undisputed champion of the division and only a 1-time lineal champion, but his 2 successful reigns as champion get him second place. So who is first? I've named him before in the video a couple times. He's a 3-time lineal and technically 2-time undisputed light middleweight champion, Japanese legend Koichi Wajima, with 61 points. Wajima would win his first title in 1971 against Carmelo Bossi. 6 title defenses later, he would meet his match in Oscar Alvarado, who would lose the title to. An immediate rematch, Wajima came out on top, regaining his title. His first title defense in his second reign against Jay Duya would end with another defeat. Once again, Wajima would have an immediate rematch, winning the title for the 3rd and last time. In his first title defense, Wajima would lose to Jose Manuel Duran. One more attempt at the title against Eddie Garza would end in failure, and the legendary career would end. Now time for the graphs before we do the top 25 to give a visual representation of the points scored. On the bar graph similar to that of the light heavyweights, Wajima is ahead by a bit of a gap, but nothing too extraordinary. Mazzinghi, Wright and Terry Norris are all really close, with the rest of the list really close and competitive. Now time for the nationalities. United States once again is dominant, with Italy and Japan battling for second. Mexico and Argentina also pose a respectable tally. So now for for the percentages, the USA makes up 43.8% of all the points, with Italy in second with 14.7% and Japan in third with 9.3%. But now time for the top 25 list, and things have gotten really interesting. Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson stay in first and second, but remember we are yet to do welterweight, so Ray Robinson should take over that first place in the next video. Everything remains the same in the top 5 from the last video, but now Nino Benvenuti is now equal 6th with Joe Louis. Light middleweight king Koichi Wajima is now in equal 11th with Bob Foster on 61 points. Terry Norris moves into equal 21st with the number 1 cruiserweight Carlos de Leon, and Sandro Mazzinghi gets into equal 23rd with George Foreman. But the next video is going to change the whole landscape, as many great fighters roam the welterweights, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out. So what did you guys think? That's the end of the video, so I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment and subscribe if you did, and see you in the next one. Bye!